Welcome, and here we go again. Today on the Random Reviews, I will be discussing Curse of the Black Spot. Now, I'm fed up of just doing reviews and saying, it was shite. Luckily, last time we had Spearhead from Space, which was great. But Curse of the Black Spot is shite. It's just terrible. And, I'll delve into that deeper. It's an episode that I think I enjoyed first time round because, most episodes of New Who I I I have rewatched a lot or a few times. So when this one came on, first time round, I think I enjoyed it. I was quite young back then, so maybe that was why. And it was when I was starting watching the show properly after Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, which was the first one I watched live. And, that's a fantastic two-parter. This one followed, and it's just really weak. It's a problem that most series of New Who face, where there's a good opener, or really good opener, and then the second story is really lackluster. And I think there's very few exceptions to that rule. I think Under the Lake Before the Flood is one of those exceptions. Fire of Pompeii. Is there any others? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure. But there's other stories in those other series which are enjoyable. End of the World is enjoyable. Beast Below is quite fun. Smile is decent. There's some good stories in there, but they're never fantastic. They never blow you away, and they're always very weak. And this is the prime example of that. It's just so poor. It feels like when it's the second story of a series, the story believes it has an excuse to be mediocre, which is very weird using the story as a subject. But this is the prime example of those weak episode twos. Now, there's some good stuff. Matt Smith, fantastic. As are Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill. They're a great team. I really like them. It's really nice for them to touch on some of the story arcs and the character arcs and the stuff that went down in the opener and the stuff that was going to go down, because arguably Series 6 is one of the more story arc based series. And this is one of those episodes that isn't story arc based at all, really, besides those little hints. But those little hints are nice. And as I say, the team really make this episode. Matt Smith is really enjoyable. There's a few times during the episode when he's genuinely funny. A pirate episode is something that was probably going to happen in New Who eventually, and I'm glad they did. I mean, they touched on pirates in Classic Who, particularly space pirates and stuff, but not really done a proper sort of swashbuckling out at sea sort of story. I guess you could argue Enlightenment is sort of a more futuristic version of that. And Big Finish had adventured into that territory with Doctor and the Pirates, but this was the first proper time when New Who had ventured into the worlds of pirates and that sort of time period. So it's nice to venture that time period, but you would have thought it would be a bit more interesting, because this episode is frightfully boring. I don't know why that is. There's a good amount of action, I guess. The time period has never really been one that has interested me. It's a period that I would have thought was perfect for Doctor Who, and it could be if the story was done right. I still haven't listened to Doctor and the Pirates, but the whole topic of pirates never really interested me. So it just feels very silly. And Doctor Who is sometimes good silly, but that's not the case here. So the villain, a bit weak. It's an interesting idea. The Enchantress. the siren, but it's just the writing for it's pretty weak. It's just so utterly dispensable. I sort of hate the ending when they go off in the ship. That's really stupid. I like the bit where the Doctor saves, where Amy is trying to save Rory's life. That's nice, and a really good sort of metaphor for their relationship, if you like. And yeah, it's very forgettable. Now, when was the last time I watched this? I think it must have been 2017, right? It was then when I realised that I didn't like this one. I'd rewatched it a few times, but I always thought it was okay. But it's just so frightfully dull and without sort of originality and interest to it that it just really fell flat. And for some reason, it doesn't just sit average for me, but because I was so bored during it, because I was so desperate for it to end, despite some good aspects, it drops below the average boundary to a 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 sort of score. Maybe if I revisited it again, I may not think it's as bad. And if there's a watch along of it, I'll definitely join in because, that era's fun. I doubt there'll be a watch along of it, but I'd be fine if there is, and I'd be happy to join in and try and sort of reevaluate my verdict on it. But from my most recent rewatch, it just really felt flat, really felt weak, really bored me. The swashbuckling antics get old quite soon into the episode. And as I said at the beginning, it's quite shite. Now, there's been a lot of shite episodes I've covered on here. And this isn't like one of the worst episodes ever. I'd say it's one of my least favourites of the Matt Smith era. And Series 6 is quite a weak series in terms of episodes that are bad. I appreciate Series 6 for what it tries to do, and I like the story arc, and I like the TARDIS team, but the the story sort of consistency is very shoddy, and one of the weaker sort of batches in terms of that consistency within the series. There's stories like Let's Kill Hitler and Night Terrors, Closing Time, Wedding of River Song, all utter tosh. And this is the only episode of Series 6A which falls flat, which is the better half of the series for me. And I just thoroughly, I just thoroughly dislike this one. I actively do. That's a shame. I wish I could like it. I don't know if it's one that's particularly popular. I don't really hear people talk about it much. Not that, I'd want to talk about it much. But I don't think it's one that's particularly popular nor unpopular. So I think I'm pretty much alone in thinking that it's terrible. But I think it's just one that, for most people, is sort of there. So let me know what you think of Curse of the Black Spot, and I'll be very interested to find out. It'll be very nice to hear your thoughts on the episode. And I'll be back for another random review on Friday, because I now branched them out to 3 a week because I've got nothing better to do. So ran out of content, so let's just do these. I'm going to select my next episode now. Oh, look, it's my box of delights. Anyway, let's see what comes out. Here we go. Let's see what's on here. Can't even read that. Bloody hell. Sound of Drums. There we go. So on Friday, I'll be reviewing Utopia, Sound of Drums, and The Last of the Time Lords, which is going to be very interesting. Actually, I might just split that into like 3 separate reviews. I don't know. So yeah, I might Actually, yeah, 3 separate reviews. So I'll do that next week, and let's pick out one for Friday. How is this? The Ark in Space. So two separate things there. Ark in Space. Let's run through this. Ark in Space on Friday, Utopia on Monday, Sound of Drums on Wednesday, and Last of the Time Lords on Friday. How does that sound? Great? Good. Let's go.